Welcome and thank you for joining. Let's take a look at some examples of simplifying polynomials. So in these examples, you'll notice that we encounter a lot of multiplications of polynomials. We're going to start with example 1. We have 3 multiplying binomial x minus 4 multiplying binomial x plus 2. And then we are subtracting the product of monomial 2 with binomial x plus 5 and then multiplying binomial x minus 3. So whenever we have multiplication of more than 2 things, it is best to multiply the 2 bigger things together because we don't want to kind of inflate or make this bigger and then multiply it with something that is sort of big as well. Not a big deal, so you do not have to actually follow this format, but it is strongly encouraged. It makes it easier for you when you expand. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to keep 3 outside the brackets, and I'll focus on x minus 4, x plus 2. So for this, we're going to use FOIL, and you remember FOIL, first terms, that's f, and x times x, x squared. And then the outside terms, so here we go. That is, these two are the outside terms in the multiplication, and that would be plus 2x. And then the inside terms, which means negative 4 and x, that's where I goes, so minus 4x. And then the last terms, and negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And then we'll continue with the the rest of the expression in the same way. But I want to stop here for a second because I want to bring your attention to something else. Now, you know that in the next step, we will have to simplify inside the brackets a little bit more, so then you will have x squared minus 2x minus 8. Now, in grade 11, we expect you to do things a little bit faster than we used to in grade 10. So what that means is that when you expand to binomials, instead of foiling, you can also very quickly expand in one step. So you know that the first term will be x squared and the last term will be negative 8 because it will come from these two terms together. And in the middle, we're going to have the sum of these two numbers, negative 4 plus 2, and then attach the x to it. Now, this strategy is based on the fact that when we factor a trinomial of this format, especially, so where the coefficient of x squared is 1, we look for two numbers that multiply to negative 8, and that's because negative 8 comes from this multiplication here, and have the sum of negative 2, which means that the middle term is actually the sum of these two numbers. So we're going to try this in the next multiplication. So we have minus 2. So as you can see here, we have x and x squared. That would be the first term. Now the last term, 5 times negative 3 is minus 15. And the term in the middle will have an x. So it will be an x term. And the coefficient will be plus 5 minus 3, which is plus 2x. So this is, I hope, a little bit faster. And next, what we're going to do is multiply by the monomial. So 3 times x squared. Now remember that every term inside the brackets will be multiplied by 3, and that's why 3 is sitting here and not exactly here. It's a very common mistake, easy mistake to make, but we shouldn't. And we have 3 times negative 2x minus 6x, 3 times negative 8, negative 24, and then minus 2x squared. Now, watch out, when we have a negative, the signs will change. So, minus 4x, and then negatives will make a positive. So, negative 2 times negative 15 is positive 30. Lastly, we're going to collect like terms. Collecting like terms, it's kind of fun. So the x squared terms got together. So remember, they have to have the same variable raised to exact same power. And all we do is work out the coefficients. I'm going to show the step here That's not necessary at this level, so we're going to have 3x squared minus 2x squared first. And then we'll take care of the x terms, x to the power 1, which is negative 6x minus 4x, and then minus 24 plus 30, which are the constants. And lastly, we'll simplify completely x squared minus 10x, and then negative 24 plus 30 is positive 6, and that would be the most simplified form. We're done with this question. And before we leave, we're going to go over the steps of what did we do to simplify this expression. Obviously, this is a very basic example, but I want us to focus on the strategy of how we approach performing any task in math. So whenever we complete a task, it is very important to go over the steps that you follow. And the reason why is because when you are able to articulate the steps, you're able to describe a strategy, you're able to explain things better to yourself, and you will remember the strategy better, and you will be able to transfer the little details of this strategy to other more complicated questions. So I wrote them the steps on the side in here. And I encourage you to use any words or any mnemonics that make sense to you, anything that makes things more memorable to you, in other words. So we're going to continue with this example where we are multiplying two trinomials. So it doesn't really make sense to say FOIL here because we don't have just, 4 multiplications to perform, but we have more. But in principle, we do the same thing. So we're going to take the first term, multiply with every term in the next trinomial. So x squared will multiply 6x squared plus x minus 2. Again, this is a very long way of completing this task. So we're going to have x squared first multiplying, and then we have negative 3x. So negative 3x, which will multiply again 6x squared plus x minus 2. And lastly, we'll have the negative 1 here, which will multiply again 6x squared plus x minus 2. And then from here, we are going to simply multiply by every term. So we have 6x to the power of 4 plus 1x to the power of 3 minus 2x squared minus 18x to the power 3 minus 3x power 2 plus 6x. And then we have, I'm going to have to make this number a little bit prettier. Okay. Minus 6x squared, and then minus x, and then plus 2. Now, always be careful of the minus signs, and don't forget to switch the signs of every term. Now, we are going to collect like terms, and that shouldn't be that difficult for us. So what we have in here is just 6x to the power 4. That is on its own. There is only one term with that power. And then we have the x cubed terms. So I see that we have only 2 of them. So plus x cubed minus 18x cubed. Next we have x squared terms. And it seems that we have 3 of them. So negative 2x squared minus 3x squared minus 6x squared. And then we got the x terms. So we have 2 of them. So plus 6x minus x. And lastly, we have the constant term, which is plus 2. And now we are ready to finish this. So remember that the x cubed terms, just work out the coefficients. 1 minus 18, negative 17. X to the power of 3. So nothing happens to the powers, okay? We just work out the coefficients because we have a positive x cubed and 18 negative x cubes. So that means that the result will be negative 17 of them. So together they make negative 17x cubed. Same thing here, negative 2 minus 3, negative 5 minus 6 minus 11x squared, and then 6x minus 1x is 5x, and then plus 2 at the end. So when we're multiplying two trinomials, it looks more complicated, but in principle, we do the exact same thing. So every term in the first trinomial will multiply each term in the second trinomial. And I encourage you to continue writing the steps here on your own.